Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Friday forecast for your Friday night. We're going to preview all the games. Well, we're going to give some more attention than others. And, of course, Wolves have beaten Crystal Palace 2-0 at Molineux tonight, just before this show went out. So that's one game knocked off the list, thank God. With me tonight is Joe Wainman from All Leeds TV and our very own Peter Smith. What we're going to do tonight is we're going to go through them. We usually go through them in the order that they're going to be played in, but we're going to jump. We might jump around a little bit, and there's a couple of games that we won't cover as much. We'll get, I suppose, predictions off the lads, and of course the two lads and myself have to pick 3 goal scorers anytime this weekend. Sorry we're a bit late. The lads are reminiscing over 70s Leeds. How many Leeds fans you can get in the pub in Dublin at any given time. We just lost track of ourselves, so we're really, really sorry. There was one lad last week gave out awful to me because we were 4 minutes late, and I really enjoyed it. So I was waiting for him to do the same again tonight. I think his name was Owen Conway. I think that name is in my head for some reason. I'm sure Owen will comment if he's here and let us know. Yeah, so you know how this show works. Friday forecast, all the games. Get your thoughts as we talk about the games. Get your thoughts in there, and we go through them. Of course, as I've said, Wolves and Palace are gone. So I want to start, and I'm going to let Peter build himself up, because when we start talking about Pep Guardiola, he goes from 0 to 100 very quickly. So, Joe, I'm going to come to you first. Sheffield United.
Yeah.
You know, they came to Anfield last weekend. They played very well, I have to be honest with you. I thought Liverpool could have been a couple up before Sheffield United get that controversial penalty. They done well. Liverpool showed a bit of quality here and there and got through the game, but they still sit, I think, I might be on 1 point for the season so far.
That's right, mate, yeah.
But I've had a lot of people this week saying to me, you know what, judging by what happened at Anfield there at the weekend, even though they got beaten, and judging by Man City away at West Ham, a lot of people feel Sheffield United can get something out of this. Is that something you go along with?
I do, mate, if I'm being totally honest. I do. Look, I think with Sheffield United, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think, I know both games, Sheffield United City were very tight last season. I think City without Aguero still, obviously Jesus, KDB, will he play Warney? You know, he didn't play much time in midweek. I think it's the perfect time to play them. They'll be up for it. They just lack goals, don't they? I was just speaking to a Sheffield United fan earlier on, and he said, look, they'll either win 1-0 or they'll draw 1-1. They don't score 2 goals. That was his thing. So the only way Sheffield United win is if they nick it 1-0, you know, maybe from a penalty. I'm not sure. I do think Ryan Brewster will get goals. I've seen him get goals in the Championship. Hopefully he'll start to make it happen at Sheffield United, because I want Sheffield United to stay in the division. I want that Yorkshire rivalry to be in the Premier League as well. And I don't really mind Sheffield United, if I'm being totally honest. So I do think they could nick something. I was surprised that City didn't beat West Ham. But something's not right at City. I think maybe it's the whole Pep not signing a new deal thing. He's been there a long time now. Maybe the lads are getting sick of the training methods. I don't know. It happens at clubs, right? After you've been there such a long time. Maybe, you know. My mate was even saying earlier, is there a case for Pep now looking at Barca? You know, with the changing of the guard there, would it be a dream move for him to go back to Spain? You know, he's done the rounds now. Maybe he goes back. I don't know. But in answer to your question, yes, Sheffield United can get a result. Hopefully a sneaky 1-0, I think.
P, before we get on to Pep and you blow a gasket, and I usually do as well about Pep. It's not there for me, but we'll get on to it in a few minutes. But Sheffield United, you know, they are. I think they do sit on, without looking at the league table, I think they do sit on 1 point from 6 games. But all the games have been tight. You know, away at Villa, they get beaten and they missed a penalty. They have a player sent off. You know, little things like that. Those sort of things were going for them last season. You know, where they were maybe saving penalties, or the other team were getting down to 10 men, and whatever chances Sheffield United were getting, they were taking. You know, they're not a team that make a hell of a lot of chances, but they were quite good in front of goal when they got chances last season. It's just gone the other way for them this season. Would you worry for them this early in the season? You know, I know it's only 6 games in, But when you get in a rut, it's hard to get out of. But did he just need? Could a big result here tomorrow, even a draw, if a good draw against Man City, go? You know, we're well able to compete here off the back of Anfield last week. We should be okay.
Yeah. I think they're too close in games to actually getting results to be a huge worry. Obviously, the lack of points on the board is a concern. To be honest with you, I think the change in goalkeeping, you know, I know Ramsdale's come in, he's done okay, but I think they miss Henderson. And they're one of those sides, a little bit like ourselves, a little bit like Liverpool, that actually miss the crowd. You know, you know, a lot of people forget how important, you know, a crowd at Bramall Lane is important. It is to a club like Sheffield United, just that extra bit of push, and the fact that you make the point that they're there or thereabouts, you can't really put your finger on what's missing. Usually it's the crowd, and to be honest with you, they would have been hugely reliant on Henderson's performance. And Kevin O'Sullivan is backing me up here. You know, he's saying the new keeper is a big step down. I think, to be honest with you, I don't want to be cruel on Ramsdale, but I think Henderson's a huge miss, to be honest with you. Huge miss.
Yeah. I think he's a huge miss as well. He was magnificent for them last season, Henderson. Now, I was surprised at the Ramsdale 18 million from Bournemouth. How Bournemouth were pulling out these transfers for that amount of money over the summer was mad to me. But I didn't think at 18 million he was as good as Henderson, or even close to as good a backup. You know, if Henderson obviously does go back to United after his loan spell. But you know, the one thing I would say for Sheffield United, when you look at teams down there, you know, West Brom get a good point at Brighton tonight, and they were very good second half. I caught the second half. I was told they were awful first half, but they were good, right? But there seems to be a bit of I don't know about the plan that's there. You know, Fulham it's give it to Adam Ola-Lookman, and if it doesn't happen, you know, throw it in the box for Mitrovic, and if that doesn't happen, what are we going to do? With Wilder there, they have got a solid base. They have a plan. I think he might have to go away with what has been successful last season, because it might be a bit too predictable for them. But I think they have enough about them to get away from 3 teams at the bottom of this league. You know, that's just the way I see it. It's an interesting one. Sheffield United, they need something over the next couple of weeks, because before you know it, it's 10 games, it's 12 games, it's 15 games. And if you're sitting on 7, 8, 9, 10 points after 15 games, project that to the end of the season, you're not breaking 30. You know what I mean? It is quite worrying unless you go on a really good run. But we'll have to wait and see. Pete, I'll stay with you, Man City. Now, people are making a lot of Man City start to the season, but I think if they win that game in hand, they go a point behind Liverpool. You know, they'd have 12 points through 6 games. Liverpool has 13 through 6 games. Liverpool seem to be taking... I'll tell you what I see, Pete. I see people saying, look at Liverpool, they're vulnerable to this, and this, and this, and this. And then when I see City, and I don't know if this is a rose-tinted glasses thing or a red-tinted glasses thing, what I see is City were unfortunate there. They just need to do this, and you're looking for excuses as to why City can get better, while you're looking for excuses to why Liverpool can get worse. You know, that kind of way.
Yeah.
Is he being given too much slack here?
Yeah, I think some fellas' reputations, you know, I mean, if that was anybody else, for example, if it was Roberto Mancini doing the same job, there'd be people calling for his head. I think there's a certain amount of romance attached to Pep. And I know I hammer him. The problem I have with Pep is, you know, as I've said before, he's not the inventor of football. Arsene Wenger was doing what he did 20 years ago for me, and he has a number of blind spots, including with defenders. I mean, I've never seen anybody spend the amount of money on chopping and changing defenders. Let's not even talk about his goalkeepers. At the moment, though, I think they don't have a recognised striker that's fit, that they can keep fit. So you kind of have to cut them a little bit of slack. And I think in general across the squad, they've an awful lot of fellas going the other way. When I say that, they've an awful lot of fellas looking at the door. They've an awful lot of fellas coming towards the end. I mean, I don't think Pep Guardiola is a very good man manager at all. I've seen a comment the other week that was attributed to him about Sergio Aguero having to prove himself. And this is arguably the best centre forward on paper the Premier League has ever seen.
He's probably Man City's best player of all time.
Arguably, yeah, arguably.
I don't know who goes
so for me, I think some people are beyond that. Me neither. I think that they're still, still missing that link as well. David Silva's a big miss. probably not as much as a player as he would as would be as a presence. I thought Vincent Kompany as well was allowed to leave far too early. I think Manchester City looks to me to be like a conveyor belt at the moment, and you look at fellas like Gundogan, hasn't quite happened. You know, the Eric Garcia, for example, who would be a player that would have been embedded in any other side. I think he was 5 minutes away from signing for Barcelona. There's an awful lot of players going the other way. Kyle Walker is a disaster. I know he has the odd game where he looks like a world beater, but he's one of the worst behaved players I've ever seen. You know, he's anything he has to do, he goes the other way. You know, off the pitch and on. For me, there's an awful lot of things that
nice take.
Yeah, it's true, but there's an awful lot of things that people just airbrush over with Manchester City. If it was Liverpool, you wouldn't hear the end of it. Or if it was even Manchester United, you wouldn't hear the end of it. I think Pep himself, I mean, let's look at the human factor as well. His mother died less than 6 months ago. Somebody mentioned, I think it was you, Joe, or even was it yourself, that he probably has one eye on Barcelona. Pep Guardiola is not a man who wants a challenge. He doesn't want to be tested. Right now, Barcelona are not even on their knees, they're on their bellies. You know, they're in debt. So he can't really lose anything by coming home. He obviously wants to come home, but he can't lose anything. He comes back to Barcelona, and if he doesn't turn them into world beaters again, nobody's going to look at him. So I think that will suit him. I think Pep's a bit of a coward, to be quite honest with you. So it won't matter. He has the excuse of saying, "Oh well, the club's on its knees. There's nothing I could do." So for me, the fact that he hasn't signed a contract with 7 months of his existing deal to go says it all. And I think the players, you only have to look at the players. The players, if a player, especially a top player, knows that the gaffer's not going to be there next year, they're not going to bother their arse. They're not going to want to get hurt. They're thinking about where they want to go next. I think I'd be very surprised if Pep is there this time next year. In fact, I'd go so far as to say, no, he looks to me dead man walking, and 6 or 7 of them players as well.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that they feel, I think his contract's out next summer and he hasn't signed the new deal yet. And I think he's nailed on for Paris Saint-Germain, I'm being honest with you. Oh. You know, if Paris Saint-Germain look for a manager and Pep Guardiola gives them the little glint in his eye, they're throwing Tommy Tuchel out in his ear, you know, quicker than as quick as you can say, I don't know, Pep Guardiola. But Joe, before we get predictions on this one, a lot of people in the chat are saying, you know, it's too early in the season. We're only 6 games in, 5 for City, of course. Sorry, somebody corrected me. They'd be 2 points behind Liverpool if they win their game in hand. I was remembering the table from last week, I think. But you know, people are saying it's too early in the season, but then some people are saying, yeah, Liverpool have 13 from 18 after playing Chelsea, after playing Arsenal. You know, they've played some decent sides, you know, the kind of way, whereas City have had a decent run of it at the start of the season. What do you make of City? Because I know you like an opinion on a manager. I'm of the opinion he's burning his own head out and burning the head out of all these players as well. And I think once they go out of the Champions League, I think the talk of Pep Guardiola will just go from 0 to 100 as soon as that happens. If that happens, they could go and win it. You never know. But what's your feeling on this, Joe? Is it one of those where it's this season or he's out?
Yeah, again, it's the contract thing. There's a reason why he's not committed. You know, I mean, like you said, 7 months. It's nothing, is it? If that was a player at your football club, you'd be bricking it. You know. If that's a big player at your football club, you're thinking he's gone, man. 7 months, what's going on? You know? So I think City fans that think he's going to stay beyond, maybe have got rose-tinted glasses on, because Bielsa signs a rolling contract, so I don't know if but it's different, man, you know? I was speaking to a City fan before, Boovy, on the 90minute.com, and he said, look, the hierarchy at City would give him a 6-year contract right here, right now. They love him there, you know? They would have him there forever, as it were. So it's obviously not a breakdown in communication between them. It's Pep, you know? It's Pep that's making these decisions. And like was said, you know, if there's players there that have been there a while under his tutelage, and if they're thinking he's maybe on his way, then is there really the appetite to put it in there as well from the player's standpoint, you know? I actually thought that City would come back with a vengeance, you know, this season. I said it. I've now seen how the land lies. I know it's still early, but I can't see past yourselves, really, if I'm being totally honest, for the title. I don't know. It's just something's just not right at City for me. I think
it's gone a bit stale. Now, you could come back to regret that comment. I could, and I won't regret it. I don't really give a fuck.
Yeah.
But people will no doubt clip this and tell me in 8 months, 7 months time, and yeah, fair enough. I don't care. But to me, it's a bit stale. You've seen last season that goalkeeper even starting to make mistakes. I agree. I think Kyle Walker's a disaster. They're trying all sorts at left back. The centre half situation is just mad to watch. Mad to fucking watch. Like midfield, Fernandinho's picking up more and more injuries. Kev De Bruyne has been in and out. Of course, you've lost David Silva. Bernardo Silva, if I'm him, I'm saying I want fucking out of here because they tried to fucking send me on my way for Messi. The kind of way. And that's the truth. They tried to send him and Garcia on their way for Messi. And Jesus maybe as well. And then up front, Jesus is out. I think Jesus is still out. You've got Aguero out again. Sterling is a brilliant player. They have got Mahrez, Ferran Torres has started very well. But to me, it's just like they needed to give it a bit more of a belt this summer and shake a few, rattle a few people, and they haven't seemed to. So, but we'll have to wait and see. We could be completely wrong come the end of the season. But right now, I look at it and go, they're saying Liverpool are vulnerable, and they're saying that because we're having centre halves dropping like flies. We get on to us later, and we'll probably have to pay a very young centre half tomorrow. City are way more vulnerable than us because they've been there, they've done it, and if they're vulnerable in this state as they are now, it's a recipe for disaster for me, because that's when top class players start going, not really into this anymore. Not really into it. I can go somewhere else, have a good time. The weather's better. Mightn't get as much money, but I get a fair whack of money. Be grand. I'll run down my contract, and me signing Anfield help me anyway. So, but there's loads to be done there, and we'll have to wait and see. But on this one, lads, P, prediction for this one.
We're going to go 1-1. To be honest, I think City to score first, and the usual defensive vulnerabilities will kick in. And from somewhere, maybe Ollie McBurney, who I thought was Sheffield United's best player last year.
Great,
they'll get a scruffy, equaliser. To be honest with you, I can't see Brewster scoring many goals for Sheffield United. If he had a sign for Brighton, it would have been a different story. I think there was goals galore for him. I think he's made a bit of a ricket there, to be honest. And I hope I'm wrong for the lad. But I think McBurney on the score sheet, or definitely having a big hand in it, or Billy Sharp maybe. But if he gets a run, but I see a 1-0.
Okay. 3-1 says Dan J to City. Carl Blake has 2-0 to City. There was a couple coming in earlier. I think Chris Brack had 3-1 to City. If you have any more, throw them in there while we're getting Joe's prediction. Joe, we were on last week and you were throwing out wins all over the place. Poor Anthony was throwing out draws all over the place. I think he done quite well, actually, when you look at the results last week. But what are you going for this one?
I don't want to copy, but I think it's going to be. I'll go 1-1. Yeah, I'd like to see Sheffield United win it, but maybe not. Fuck it, we'll go Sheffield United 1-0.
Oh, well, okay.
Sheffield United 1-0.
Anthony McConville has 2-1. Morbid Angel has 1-1. Richard Lefebvre has 2-1 to City. I'm going to go with 3-1 to City. I think Sheffield United might end up being better away from home this season. Now, that's not fucking saying much. They've 1 point all season, but I think the no crowd at Bramall Lane is killing them.
Yeah,
absolutely hammering them. They were.
I think Chris Wilder came out and said it, didn't he? And said we are the one team that's hurt more than anyone else without having our fans in the ground.
Them and us. I think Liverpool are suffering as well.
Well, I think it's easy to say Liverpool are because Anfield was fucking great last season. Because there was just. Literally from August, you were flying because you were European champions, and then you could see what the team are doing, and you're 29 games in and you've won fucking 27 of them or whatever it was. It was ridiculous. And the place was bouncing every week. The level Sheffield United were at, they need, it's fine margins, and the fine margins for them to, I genuinely believe they could have made European football if that season hadn't stopped. I think that knocked them flat on their face, and it's just one of those. And I think tomorrow, I think they'll have a right go. I think they will score, because when you look at the big thing for me was McBurney played for Sheffield United against us last week, and he was so fucking good in the air. He was so good in the air. He was winning fucking everything. And I think if you throw a few of them balls in there against the likes of whether it's Stones or this Luis fella or what's his name? Is Luis, isn't it?
Diaz, Ruben Diaz.
Sorry,
Yes.
Diaz, Ruben Diaz. Yeah, I think if you're throwing them in there, I think he's a good bet to get on top of them. Dylan Cohen has 2-2. Barry Devaney has 3-1 to City. But I think City will have too much of them. I think, I just think City's seen enough of them last season to be able to go in, and that bit of quality just gets them over the line. I'm going to go 3-1 to City. I'm not going to ponder long on Chelsea because Joe's had a lovely day and he plans on a lovely weekend. And if I upset him now, he'd probably tell me to piss off next Friday when I ask him to come on. So, just quickly, Burnley at home. I think it's Burnley at home to Chelsea. Of course, Burnley were beaten by Spurs at the weekend
1-0.
and 1-0, yeah. And in what was a poor game for me, but Spurs got there in the end. Burnley look a bit predictable for me as well. So, Joe, give me a prediction on Burnley v Chelsea. I know you're going to go 2-1 Burnley, but go on.
I'm going to go 1-0 Burnley, man. 1-0.
Are you?
I'm worried, though, Gav. I'm worried that Chelsea might have turned a corner. I'm a little bit worried, and I'm not here for it. But I think he'll have these little blips, you know? He'll have these really high points. He'll win a few, and then he'll lose some. So he's won the last 3, I think. I mean, obviously, Mendy coming in, keeping clean sheets. It's done them wonders. But Burnley 1-0 tomorrow. Let's stand for that.
Yeah, I think... I don't know. When I look at Chelsea, I think, like, the game against United was poxy.
Yeah, it was terrible, wasn't it?
It was awful. Like, they won on Krasnodar, fair enough. You go away and you win. But they drew with United 0-0, they drew with Sevilla 0-0, they drew with Southampton 3-3, they beat Palace 4-0. Like you're saying there, right? Since they beat Barnsley in the Carabao Cup on the 23rd of September, they've played West Brom, Spurs, Southampton, Sevilla, United, and they failed to beat any of them. They've beaten Crystal Palace and Krasnodar since then. So it just looks to me a bit of a mishmash, and he's just throwing them on the pitch and hoping for the best. But we'll see. Adam Duffy says he feels Burnley will go down this season. Flash Gordon has 3-1 to Chelsea. Werner gets 2 and Havertz gets 1. And Chris Wood, Flash Gordon's on fire. If he's putting in goal scorers for all the games, happy days. Pete, what are you going for with this one?
Completely disagree with everyone. I mean, I can't believe people are saying Chelsea are going to turn Burnley. Burnley, first of all, Burnley are a well-oiled machine, and they were very, very unlucky against Tottenham. This is a Tottenham Hotspur that Jose Mourinho has gotten a year with to get his hands on, and he's shown the signs of being ruthless. I mean, the game that Spurs threw away against West Ham, Harry Winks and Serge Aurier, I mean, just did stupid things, and Mourinho didn't just drop them, he bombed them completely out of the squad. So the Spurs side you seen against Burnley last week was a bunch of lads that are on their toes. Burnley were very unlucky in that game. They had their chances. I think they had the ball in the net a couple of times. Chelsea, on the other hand, I've never seen a team to spend a gut of 300 million and play so defensively. This is going to be two teams that set up very similarly, although Chelsea, Lampard, who I think is very, very naive for someone that has so much playing experience at the highest level, will probably have a go at Burnley. I'm not saying he's completely shit, but he'll have a go at them, and that will suit Burnley down to the ground. Lampard will feel that this Chelsea owes their fans a performance, and I think he'll go for it, and it might be his undoing. I fancy Burnley to get something here. I've never seen so much money spent to go nowhere and do nothing. And as long as Thiago Silva is at the backbone of that defence, Chelsea will leak goals and will be under pressure. I cannot believe that they've hedged their bets defensively on a fella that probably could have came in 9 or 10 years ago and set the Premier League on fire. But for me, every manager will be targeting him and saying, look, he's the weakness. He'll be trying this, he'll be trying that. He won't have recovery pace. There's been a couple of games this season where that guy has been brutally exposed, but he'll play every game because the money he's on. I fancy Burnley to get something. I'm gonna say 2-0.
Do you know what? That's the score I was going to go with, 2-2. I think Chelsea. I think Chelsea. When I looked at Chelsea last week against United, I thought Werner, Havertz, and I don't know who the third fella was up front, but I was like, wow, that's a good, really, really good forward line. The problem is with Werner, he seems to be, he's out on the left, is he up here? They don't know where to put him. And, you know,
like Shane Long, when he came into the Premier League course, he runs around and it's great against some sides.
I think he's the best player.
He looks lively.
I think he's the best player. I think he's the one that's he's looked a class above anybody else in the Chelsea team this season.
He's lively.
But I think they need to give him a more defined role. I was going to go with 2-2 as well, so that's fair enough.
No, the English young player. Who's the English young player that plays in the middle of the park for them?
Mount.
He's their best player. Yeah. I mean, he's head and shoulders above everyone. I mean, they've spent a million and they haven't brought in a better player than him. Yeah.
Well, we'll have to wait and see, but I think Werner's a class above anything Chelsea have bought this summer. I'm being honest with you. Quick predictions, Pete. I'm going to stay with you. Aston Villa versus Southampton.
We're going to go Southampton. Southampton on a crest of a wave. Last week, losing to Leeds, what a horde Villa. So, you know, there's going to be a few lads looking at each other going, you know, I know they've had a good start, but it's a bit like Everton start, to be honest with you. You know, the Liverpool game was a bit of a freak, so everybody thinks Villa are going to set the world on fire. I'm going to go Southampton 2-1.
Okay. Joe, you seen Villa last week against Leeds when Leeds beat them 3-0. What are you going for this weekend?
I do think Villa will come out. I mean, the old performance, because they were absolutely shocking, but that was much down to the way Leeds United played, if I'm being totally honest. But yeah, I mean, I'll go 2-2.
Okay.
You just put it up on the screen there, Flash Gordon. Yeah, I'll go with Flash.
Yeah. Two. I thought you were going to go on and continue on there, but go on. Newcastle against. I have to give a prediction for that. Aston Villa versus Southampton. I'm going to go 1-1. I'm going to go 1-1. Kevin Sullivan has gone with detail here. He's gone with 3-1 Saints, Ings brace, and a Ward-Prowse free kick. There you go. Let me see. Antoine Okango says, I'm a Manchester United fan. Good man yourself. Very welcome.
Welcome, Antoine.
We get on to Manchester United in a couple of minutes. But I want to talk about something slightly away from the weekend's football, although this man is involved in it. But give me your prediction on Newcastle and Everton, and I want to talk to you about something, right? So, Joe, Newcastle v Everton. Prediction.
You just want to score? I think they've got to get back to it, haven't they? I know they're away. I fancy Everton. 2-0.
Okay. P?
As much as it hurts me, and, you know, Everton have had very kind fixtures. Newcastle can be a bit toothless, and, you know, I know fans at St. James's Park, they tend to be worse there. I fancy Everton to nick it 1-0, to be honest with you. I do fancy Everton 1-0.
I think this is a really tough one to call, because you're right. Newcastle can be very flaky. You know, they can be a bit bipolar when you see them. Some weeks you see them go, geez, they're really good and they're well set up, and they have got a couple of players that can hurt you now. And what's his name? Say Maxim, and then you have
he's as quick as that.
And the other lad he signed off Bournemouth, who Everton should have signed about a year ago.
Yeah.
No, the striker. What's his name? Callum Wilson.
Yeah. Callum Wilson.
Yeah, who Everton should have signed about a year ago. But and then you look at Everton, and I thought Liverpool were way better than them in the derby. I think Southampton should have had 5 or 6 last weekend. You kind of go, it's when they start losing players, and the people that come in for them, they're not as good. And I know Rodriguez is out because one of his balls is hurting him, so that's not helping him. Seamus Coleman, I think, is out as well, and there's one other that they were.
Richarlison, is Richarlison still suspended as well?
Richarlison would still be banned, and there was one other player that I think that was out with injury. I'm going to go for 2-1 Newcastle here. I think
I love it.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go Newcastle to edge it. A lot of people are throwing. There's loads of different scores coming in. Like Olivier has 3-1 Newcastle, but Scott Ferguson has Newcastle 0, Everton 1. Richarlison still suspended. He confirms there. But I want to talk to you.
Digne as well. Lucas Digne with the red card. Actually, Digne.
So that'll be Digne, Coleman, Richarlison, and Rodriguez out for them. I did read. I thought there was another name in there as well that was injured rather than suspended. But let me see. Dan Jace, I can't see Everton win this. James, Coleman, Digne, and Richarlison now. Who's James? Oh, James, Coleman, Dinya, and I was like, James, who the fuck's he?
Who the fuck is he?
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I tried to sign that fella up in Chelsea. But
you're right though, Gav. Yeah, like obviously last weekend was the first time really they had any
Andre
of their key
Gomez.
players
Andre
out of the
Gomez is also
side.
out.
Any of their key players out of the side, and they got beat. You know what I mean? So now 4 more out. You might be right, man.
So if you're looking at it now, you're looking at James Rodriguez, Andre Gomez, Seamus Coleman, Luca Digne, and there was, I keep forgetting the names now, just that many of them out. But I want to talk to you quickly about something, and it's Carlo Ancelotti, right? And I didn't go near this last week because I thought I want to see how this develops. And then when I seen James Rodriguez being ruled out of this game tomorrow, you could turn up and play. Knowing Carlo Ancelotti now, the way he's going on. But Pete, a lot of respect for Carlo Ancelotti. He's one of the best you've ever seen as a manager. Brilliant player as well. But has he let himself down on what he's done over the last 10, 12 days?
I think he's just shown who he is. I mean, you're talking about, this is a fella that grew up in Serie A at a time when Serie A was as dirty as it comes. You're talking about he played in that Catenaccio team, AC Milan. Keith Plunkett would tell you more than I would about that team because he absolutely idolises them. Yeah. This is a dark age.
Actually, how much he idolises them.
Yeah, but this is a dark ages manager. And when I say dark ages, every trick, every dirty tap, the physicality is very deliberate. Don't think that these players are getting sent off left, right, and centre because because they're getting into the heads. Carlo was telling them to get stuck in. What's costing them is the fact that they're not cute enough. Ancelotti himself, as a player, was a defensive midfielder, and he was a cute cunt. He probably should have been booked and sent off every 2 or 3 weeks, but wasn't, because he just knows the tricks. The likes of Richarlison losing the head, jumping in. I mean, that's just stupid. You get sent off. Pickford as well would have been wound up, but that comes from somewhere. This is not coincidental. Carlo Ancelotti's not letting himself down. This is Carlo Ancelotti being shown the world who he is, because the Premiership, as you know, is the biggest spotlight in the world, and you find out quickly who people are. He looks like a cool, calm, reserved guy, but this fella has all of these cunts up to every trick. I mean, James Rodriguez is the biggest cheat I've seen come into the Premier League in a long, long time. Yeah. Anyone goes near him, he's jumping, screaming. And I see it here every week when I'm training and playing myself. It's in them. It's their culture. Now, I know he's from Colombia, but it's their culture. Try whatever you can to gain any advantage. It's no coincidence that Ancelotti gambles on Rodriguez when very few other managers will. I mean, Zinedine Zidane didn't want anything to do with him at Real Madrid, because he branded him a troublemaker, and other managers seem to, not fancy him. But I think it suits Carlo to have a nice ball player, because the rest of the side will be solid. Alan will make them solid. I think Keane is a good centre half, to be honest with you. He lacks pace, but he's a very good centre half. Mina will do. He can nick a goal, and at the other end of the pitch as well. But Rodriguez sums up for me what he wants Everton to be. When they have the ball, do the right thing with it. But when they're under pressure, go and win us a free kick. Go and cheat your way to it. So this is Ancelotti. This is his game plan. This is what he does.
No, the only reason I'm asking that is because, and people are saying they know he's taking the heat off his players, and that's what you do, and it's the dark arts, and he's taking the attention. And listen, you're quite entitled to do that. But when you look, and Joe, I don't know if you agree with this, but when I looked at it, I thought, don't get me wrong, he's going to try to deflect away from the whole Pickford incident, and he can't really defend the Richarlison thing. So if he starts going on about an injury to James Rodriguez following a clash with Virgil van Dijk early in the Merseyside derby, and that's okay. That probably happened. But then it goes on, and then Digne gets sent off, and he starts saying, that the referee is probably sensitive to the fact of what happened last week and stuff like that. And I'm kind of going, come on now. Do you know what I mean? And listen, I'm not against it. I'm not against what he's doing. I've seen Kenny Dalglish make players wear fucking jerseys of Luis Suarez after he's trying to eat somebody. So, I can't stand here on a fucking moral high ground and go, well, it's all wrong. So, but what I will say is, what he's doing there for me, no issue with it. But what I'm saying is, if that was another manager, like a Jose Mourinho, or maybe even a Wenger, because Wenger was always accused of only seeing certain things, and he hopped on him for it. Is he getting away with it? Is he just getting away with it because he's Carlo Ancelotti and he's not Jose Mourinho, and he's not at as high a profile club as, you know, a Klopp or a Mourinho or anybody, or, you know, anybody in that top six, I suppose.
Yeah, quite possibly. I mean, I can't really follow what was said there, man. But it was a sending off, weren't it? And coming out and trying to say that they were walked by what had happened previous week. It's a load of tosh, isn't it? At the end of the day, it is a load of tosh. But listen, they have their favourites and those that they dislike as well, man. It's all run by the media. Let's be totally honest. You know, I hate to bring it back to him as well. I should have mentioned it earlier. Did you see old Lampard saying that he was getting a bad rep because he was English?
Unbelievable.
No,
cheeky.
but if
I could not believe it.
See, I knew he'd get the Lampard. He was fucking determined.
Because it just came to me then. Because I'm thinking it's the media, and you went down that thing of like, yeah, they don't like Mourinho anymore. He's not the special one anymore. It's all, you know what I mean. And then it just came. Oh fuck! I forgot what Lampard had said about, you know, I'm getting a bad because I'm English. He's the most entitled man. He's got the most backing of the media than anyone I know, man. This rookie guy coming in. You know. Anyway, sorry to bring it back to that knob, but I couldn't help it.
You're right, Joe. You're right.
Come here, I'll cheer you up, Joe. I'll cheer you up. LFC Aaron says Leeds are like a breath of fresh air this season. And we are going to get on to Leeds. I'm going to leave Leeds till second last. And of course, Liverpool to last. Michael Ramsey says British people have no moral authority to call anyone a cheat. VAR is showing you all up in Britain how poor you all are at football from top to bottom. Michael Ramsey's mental. He's mad. I love him. He's probably my favourite person on this chat. I swear to God. I always talk about Michael after the shows and just say, yeah, I just love him. I just love him. Every bit of him. And yeah, listen, VAR is. Don't get me started, Michael. I could go on all night about VAR because it's an absolute farce, to be perfectly honest with you. But I'm going to skip ahead because I know I have to do Leeds and I know I have to do Liverpool, and I want to throw United in there as well. Spurs are at home to Brighton. You know, Spurs are on a decent run. You know, of course, Harry Kane and Son are being. The questions are now: are these the best two partnership you've ever seen in the Premier League? Wow. During the week, Brighton have been okay. I think they flattered to deceive a little bit. They should have put West Brom away in their last game, and then should have probably lost it by the end. But Joe, for you, Spurs, I think they've a real chance this season, Joe. I think now I know they got beaten by Royal Antwerp during the week, and no one fucking cares. You know what I mean? But I think they've a real chance, Joe. I think if he manages to get them into his way of thinking, I think they've a real chance.
Yeah, and what for the league?
Oh, I think I do. Yeah, I think
really.
Because
you think they would push you the furthest?
Well, listen, I don't know who's going to push you the furthest because, as we've said on many occasions, this league is so strange this season. There's so many caveats to it. Nobody in grounds, games every 3 days. You know, now the Thursday Sunday thing might kill them, but you know, I'm looking at it and I'm saying to myself, just with all these factors, I think someone could come out of the pack of United, Spurs, Chelsea, Arsenal, wherever that might be, and upset us or City, or give us a good run towards the end of the season. And I think if he gets them in the right frame of mind, trust me, if they turn January and are anywhere near it, he'll take that Europa League and he'll throw it in the bin. You know what I mean? He'll throw it in the bin because, listen, he can float around as Man United manager telling you he's won 3 trophies with an FA Cup and a UEFA Cup and a Charity Shield, but if he's a chance of the league, he's going to take that Europa League and get rid of it. I don't know. They just seem to be coming around to his way of thinking.
Yeah, well, listen, I don't mind Mourinho, mate. I really like him, if I'm being totally honest. He's just an awesome character for me, and that's hard for me to say being at Man United, but how it ended there, it's all right. You know, it went tits up in the end, didn't it? You know, he fell out with them and all that sort of stuff, so that suits me down to the ground. But I'd like them to, 100%. You know, I don't see Man United or Chelsea being anywhere close, if I'm being totally honest. I did think City, but again, there's stuff going on there. Arteta, Arsenal, is his bubble started to burst a little bit. You know, I'm not so sure. So if anyone can, Mourinho can. I don't see them winning the league, though. I can't see past yourselves, but I mean, look, Kane who'd have thought that he would be laying on the assists that he is? Do you know what I mean? I didn't think he ever had that in his game. Do you know what I mean? He was always just like banging it in the back of the net, but he's really added something to his game for me. And him and Son look lethal at the minute. They look absolutely lethal. Yeah, man, it's great to see. It's great to see, to be honest.
I tell you one thing. I mean, even looking at this game tomorrow, Brighton, this game is made for Jose Mourinho. You can allow, if you're a manager with the mindset of Jose Mourinho, you can allow Brighton to have a lot of the ball and just stretch the fuck out of them on the counter. And that's what they look to do. Jose, when Spurs brought in Lucas Moura, I remember thinking, if he gets a manager that knows how to use him, the way Jose Mourinho used Willian when Willian was at his peak, you've got a very, very dangerous player. Son, the same. I think Jose, I thought it would have went this way with Dele Alli, but it hasn't, because Dele Alli has a shitty attitude. And even I look at what Jose Mourinho has done to Harry Kane. He's opened his game up a little bit like he did with Didier Drogba. Harry Kane is not just dangerous in front of goal for himself. He's now dangerous for the team. I think Spurs win tomorrow, and they win big. And it's going to be one of those games where you're going to say, geez, Brighton had plenty of the ball, but every time they missed a chance, or every time they were a little bit toothless, 30 or 40 yards, Spurs punished them on the counter. Spurs are very dangerous on the counter, and they're getting it right defensively. I think that the signing of Højbjerg is huge for them. You know, Spurs, one of those sides that were always likely to be punished because of naivety. I mean, when Sissoko came in first, he looked like losing the ball left, right, and Højbjerg makes them, you know, solid. I'm looking at him. He looks a real player. And I think bringing Matt Doherty in as well. Serge Aurier is very, very good going forward, but, you know, he gets caught in behind. He's very naive, does stupid things, gives away silly free kicks. I think that's Doherty's jersey now. Davis, for me, I've never been convinced about, but they have a world-class goalkeeper, and it looks to me like they're getting a centre-half situation almost sorted. So, yeah, I agree with you, Gav. Spurs are very, very dangerous. They'll be a little bit short, but they'll be miles ahead of the likes of Manchester United and Chelsea, to be quite honest. But
yeah,
if they get it right in the Jose way, they're going to be very. I'm not looking forward to going there. As Liverpool.
I'm probably not giving Mourinho enough credit here, because I'm saying if they just do what he says, you'll be fine. I think he's adapting a little bit, because I think last season,
evolving,
yeah, I think he's evolving a little bit, because it's always thrown at him that, you know, the days of his football have passed, and, you know, he's a dinosaur with regards to football. He's a very, very clever man, you know, and when I look at Spurs now, listen, people have said to me, Gav, you have a small squad, the Thursday, Sunday stuff. That might be the case. And I might be looking into results over the last couple of weeks going, and simply because Son and Kane have been really good, they're in a purple patch, and I'm getting ahead of myself. But I'm just the factors that are involved. And if you need someone to plot your way through a season, Mourinho's very good at it, and he's done it before. And I'm probably not giving him enough credit, because when I look at Kane at Spurs was always the furthest man forward. Didn't do a lot of running around, stuck between the lines of the box, and looked to score goals, right? Decent with his back to goal. Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. When you look at the prime Mourinho sides, look at Drogba up front, right? Brilliant with his back to goal, right? Now he could be a bit of a pansy every now and then, and he got lifted over for it, and that's fine. Brilliant with his back to goal, strong, could turn you in one touch and he'd be gone. He good pace, he ran the channels, he battled you. He was brilliant. Drogba was, right. Kane isn't like that, and I think Mourinho's looked at it and went, he's a bit more of a brain, this fella, in football and brain, than people give him credit for. So what I'll do is, he's good with his back to goal, he's a good first touch, but let's get people beyond him. Rather than wide of him looking to service him, let's get people beyond him and see what we can do. And that's where Son is fucking having a great time. You know,
and I think Son is one of the best, if not the best player in the league.
I think Son is magnificent.
If Son had white skin, and people would be talking about, my God, this fella needs to be Ballon d'Or. He is. I can't believe how underrated he still is. Really,
I think Son is absolutely fabulous. I think he's just overshadowed by the likes of Mane, Salah, and one or two others, Sterling probably as well. You know,
do you know
Son is... Yeah, go on.
Got on Kane as well, right? What's he get? 20, 30 every season guaranteed. If you then throw in 15, 20 assists a season, you know, it just takes Tottenham's points tally up another level, doesn't it? So you bang on, you know, the change in Kane, as long as it continues, man, like you say, him and Son, they'll just get goals for fun, man.
But I think Gav is right. I think what Jose has done is he's probably sat down with Harry Kane a little bit what Alex Ferguson did 20 years ago with Andy Cole. Probably sat him down and said, listen, you're not going to get 40 goals from me, but you're going to get your 20, but you're going to make 20, and you're going to make this team a better team. And I think you're seeing that in Harry Kane. That's what good managers do with good players.
I think they're trying to reduce his workload as well. You know, when you're up front on your own, you have to. He wasn't the best pressing forward anyway, but you still have to run. You still have to, do them doggies, across and back to centre halves and try cut off passing lanes. Where he is now, he's just holding off a little bit. He's a bit deeper. He's a bit more passive in his play, and it's probably helping him because Harry Kane is good for a 3-month injury somewhere in the season. We've seen it for the last couple of seasons. Well, not 3 months in, but he's a couple of injuries in a season. Son has been injuries here and there as well. But I just think, I genuinely think they have a really good chance this season of having a really good season. And I think if he turns into the new year with a couple of competitions in front of him, I think Mourinho's as good as anyone at plotting what he wants to do and how he'll do it, and he'll have no issues just going on. Don't give a fuck about the FA Cup and the Europa League. Sure, here, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, I'm not too bothered. Sunday's the big one for me, But what are we going with this one, Joe?
I mean, we'll go 3-1. 3-1 Spurs.
Yeah,
I have the same. Pete, what have you got for that?
Gonna go 3-0 Spurs. I can't see them conceding. I can see them conceding possession and making the pitch bigger and stretching it and looking to stretch Brighton for the reasons that we talked about there. Make it a longer passing game. To be honest with you, on the counter, I can see Son, Mora, Kane just hurting people. 3-0 Spurs.
Okay. Flash Gordon has 2-1 to Spurs. Rajiv Kumar has 3-1 to Spurs. Arjit Wiseman has 3-0. I was going to go into detail about Manchester United, but I'm not going to now. Right, that's okay. I don't think too many about it. It's an intriguing one, United and Arsenal. Arteta was the best manager in the world 4 weeks ago, and now it's what's going on. And Solskjaer was looking for a P45 a couple of weeks ago, and now he's the best manager in the world. So couple that with Aston Villa losing their title as the best team in the world, it's all changed in the Premier League. But it's an interesting one as to where they are in what they're trying to do. Solskjaer's way more down the line than Arteta and that, but it's an interesting one to see what way they both approach this, after a good win in Europe for both of them during the week and stuff like that. But Pete, I just want to get a score prediction off you for this one.
Could be any score with the way both of them defend. To be honest, I think with Arsenal holding on to the ball a little bit more, United will be happy to concede possession as Spurs will do. But as long as you've got Harry Kane or Harry Maguire, for me, if he's fit, I don't know if he's fit this week to go back in. But for me, he's a liability. Wan-Bissaka is a liability. I can see young Saka at the pace that Arsenal have in that final third.
His connection's gone.
Man, 2 Arsenal.
Okay. Joe, what are you going for?
I think it's going to be similar to Chelsea Man United. I think it just filter out, damp squib. Both managers not want to lose. Yeah, honestly, I do, though. I was saying it earlier on something that we were doing. I mean, I think it's Man United's worst home record in like 46 years or something, and Arsenal haven't won away at a top 6 since 2015. So I'm just like, 0-0. I genuinely think it'll be rubbish. Aubameyang's not scored in 5 either, has he? So maybe he might get on the score sheet. I don't know, but 0-0 for me. Rubbish.
Okay. Abraham has 1-0 stinker to one of the sides. That's fair enough. Stephen Max's Man United draw against Arsenal all day long. Pile on that one. I'm going to go for a United win. I do think it'd be similar to Chelsea, but I just think Arsenal can be good and then just turn off. And if you turn off, you just get 2. And it turns out a 2-0 that looked like a 0-0, but it turns out a 2-0. I'm gonna go 2-0 to United in that one. And Stephen Mack will get very upset at me for that because he hates me predicting anything. He doesn't even like me predicting other teams. He just wants me to predict Liverpool stuff and stop talking about all the other teams. But that's the fucking way the show goes, Stephen. You know what I mean? So Sorry, one more quick prediction in one more game, and then we get on to Leeds and of course Liverpool. Fulham against West Brom. If that's pay-per-view, we just fold it now, lads, because there's no point. That is just I can see a high-scoring game. I'm going to go for 3-2 to West Brom. Joe,
I'm going to say 1-0 West Brom.
okay, and P.
Clean sweep, 2-1 West Brom. Lukeman either scoring or making a goal for Fulham because he's their only player, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Stephen Max says Gav doesn't know how to do bets on stuff. No, I don't. Don't take any of my advice, and if you do, you don't hold me responsible. Right. Leeds play Leicester at the weekend. Of course, I've put Patrick Bamford in my fancy football team, so he will definitely be taken off at half-time this weekend. But it's an interesting one, Joe, because, I spoke to you at the start of the season, and we were talking about what do Leeds look for? What do they target? What do they, what teams do they look at that they want to be above? Because we were talking I don't see Leeds being 16, 15. They probably want to look around 10th, and if they get to 10th and there's 2 months left, they go, well, maybe we can go a bit further than that. You never know how things go. But when you look at this one, they're 2 points off Leicester, same amount of games played. Is Leicester a team now where, I don't see Leicester staying where they are at the moment. They're 5th place after 6 games. I don't see them staying there. I think they'll drift back a little bit. But if they drift back a little bit, are these a side that, you look at it tomorrow going, I beat these because it could be a big 3 points from the end of the season for positions?
Yeah, definitely. Listen, I'll sing Leeds' praises until the cows come home, mate. I think, I think we could genuinely be pushing that top 6, and I don't say that I genuinely believe that, man. Bielsa, what's pissing me off at the moment is this rhetoric from the media that automatically assume that apparently Bielsa's just come in this season and hasn't worked with his team for 2 years, and they're saying about Bielsa burnout and talking about, can they last all season? By the same point, this season, we'd already played 16 fixtures last year in the Championship. Do you know what I mean? And people say, can they last all season? We've only played 6 games. They're playing once a week, not Saturday, Tuesday. They're getting long layoffs for international breaks and stuff. Believe me, this team's really fit and it will go to the end of the season over 38 games. And the only thing that maybe might stop it is if people start adjusting the game plans. At the minute, they're not really. I think Wolves showed that if you sit in, I know that's a tactic Wolves employ, normally just sitting in that first half and try to come out in the second. And that's what makes me nervous about this game against Leicester, because like they did against Arsenal, I think we could see something similar. They could sit in. I know they've got some issues at centre-back, but if our balls into the box aren't great, and Leicester can stay in the game, because we will have all the ball. We do in the majority of games we play. We will have a lot of the ball. It's whether or not we can take our chances, because if not, I fancy Vardy on the fly, up against Cooper. I think it'll be very much a tactic that Rodgers will employ, sitting like they did against Arsenal and wait for the chances to be on the fly. And if Vardy gets it, there's going to be so much space in behind, do you know what I mean, for me, because we're going to have a lot of the ball, and there'll be times where our centre-backs, who ain't the quickest, will be on the halfway line. And if Leicester get that ball and it just goes bang straight into that space for Vardy, he'll be away. And if he's away, he normally tucks him in the back of the net. I think, for me, Gav, the first goal's so important, because if Leicester get it, Brendan Rodgers will just shut them up. Shut them up shop. 3 centre-backs, 2 wing-backs. We'll be getting it out to they'll say, let him get it out wide and put balls in the box for Bamford and let him battle against 3 centre-backs. Because it didn't work against Wolves, he didn't get sniff. Whereas if you look at Villa, play that low block and want to, try, we absolutely trounced them. We did. So Brendan Rodgers, I know you don't rate him, but I have a bit of respect for him. He will set them up to try and get a result. He's not going to meet fire with fire for me. So as long as we get the first goal, we'll win the game. If they do, I'll be a lot I'll be very nervous. But I'm just gutted that Vardy's back.
My favourite viewer, Michael Ramsey's back in the house. He says, as long as you got British refs, Man U is guaranteed a penalty either way in their favour. Yeah, that's fair. Michael, in fairness to you, they just get penalties for the crack now, and it's funny at this stage, I think. Rajiv is going to upset Joe here. He says, Leeds 1, Leicester 2. Leicester have a 100% away record. Interesting. Interesting there. There's a couple have come in there. 2-1 Leeds from, let me see, SALAH LFC. My eyes are gone here. But Pete, when you look at Leeds and you look at Leicester, listen, it's very well known in this chat anyway. Like, I'm not saying it's known around the world, but in this chat anyway, I had an absolute breakdown about Brendan Rodgers at the end of last season because, I keep saying it, 23 points from 19 games. It's just horrendous. That I think they've played 6 now, won 4, lost 2, right? They haven't drawn a game yet, I don't think. And, Craig Lowe says there, he doesn't know how to shut up shop, Brendan Rodgers. You're right, he doesn't. But Joe was right what he's saying, Pete, isn't he? Because I think the way to play Leeds is to make it a game where you're on your 18-yard box and they're on their 18-yard box, and let's play football.
Spring loaded.
Yeah, stretch it out, make it a big game, and see what happens. I think if you push high against Leeds, I think if you sit in against them, I think they've good technical players to hurt you. If you sit high against them, they will come and pressure. What way do Leicester approach this? Because I fancy Leeds for this. I'm going to be honest, I don't fancy Leeds for this one.
Yeah, I think the one danger, and Joe's well aware of this, is Leicester are the classic away team in that they will try and, they'll draw you in. They're well capable of, sitting the two banks and playing that classic 4-4. They won the league with a classic 4-4-2. But Leeds, for me, are the second fittest team in the league. I know I've said this a couple of times about teams, about swamping teams, but they are capable. Leicester never really replaced that energy in the middle of the park. I know they've got a bit of magic with Maddison, but they never replaced that energy in the middle of the park when they lost N'Golo Kante. For me, now, indeed, he's a good player. Don't get me wrong, but the energy is not quite the same. So I can see Leeds winning this. Now, it won't be 2 or 3-0. It'll be tight. I think Joe was right. It'll be all about who gets the first goal. And I do fancy Bamford.
Massively agree with that.
I can see Leeds winning this 3-2 at home. It's going to be a good game, and it's going to be one of those games where we kind of see the best of both teams. But Leeds' honest energy would probably come out on top, to be honest with you, and the fact that they're getting used to scoring goals and taking their chances.
Leeds are a bit of a madness for me. You can look at Leeds. No, and what I mean by that, I don't mean that in a bad way. What I mean by that is that, I look at, say Chelsea. I look at Chelsea and, I say, right, they're going to play this and they're going to play these players and they're going to do this and this is the way it's going to work and this is how we counteract it. Leeds to me are a bit unknown. I think that's a bit of a patronising thing to say, but they are a bit of, will he play there? Like, that is your 11, but will he actually play there? Or will they go something different? Or will they drop off and just hunt you down if you get near the half? They have got a lot of variety to the game. And I think that's, Joe says, if people start to realise what's going on, I think Leeds need a bit more credit, because from what I'm seeing from this season is, yeah, they'll pressure. Yeah, they might sit back. Yeah, they might defend. Yeah, they might hit you on the break. But it's all happening at different times. And like Stephen Mack says there, Joe should be ashamed of himself. Leeds for top 4 because basically a manager invented football. So, Joe, you need to have a word with yourself at some stage over the weekend. But, I think it's going to take people a couple of times to work out Leeds, if you know what I mean. Because if you look at Liverpool, and we will in a minute, people say, oh, well, Liverpool are just, predictable in midfield now, and that's why people are getting at them and they look vulnerable. That's not it at all. This is a completely unique season. I know last season was with the stoppage of football, but this is completely unique with condensed seasons, games every 3 days, players getting injured, trying to rotate from day one, sort of way. So I just think Leeds have that. As way more than the other two clubs that come up, they have a bit of a variety.
I think the reason why a lot of people haven't figured out Leeds yet, because a lot of them are not thinking about Bielsa. If you figured out your own team, then I'm not saying you figured them out, but then you're on the right track with Bielsa. Bielsa looks at you, and then he sets his team up. Do you know what I mean? And I think a lot of sides, a lot of people are ignoring. This is a guy that, you know, people talk about Jose Mourinho and his attention to detail. This is a man who makes Jose Mourinho look sloppy.
This is a fella in trees, fucking looking at fellas training. You know what I mean?
So
This
you
fella
figure
had
yourself out.
Frank Lampard out in a massive way a couple of seasons ago.
You figure yourself out in your own team, and then it'll give you the insight into what Bielsa is going to do. It's not rocket science. It's just that he knows what you're going to do by looking at the previous, years, not even months, weeks, years of what you've done. So he'll think about what you've got, and then he'll set up. That's why you see players set up in different ways, because he's thinking about you. So I think in order to counter Bielsa, you have to almost second guess yourself, which in a way is playing into his hands as well. And I think that happened to Liverpool the first day of the season. We were caught cold. I think Klopp. Don't get me wrong. We had more ammunition and more firepower, but he caught us cold, you know. And I think Klopp was kind of caught jumping from foot to foot. Do I stick or do I twist? And that's what made the game so open. In the end, it just became a shootout, you know. So I think you figure yourself out, then you figure him out, and then you think about, do I stick to my plan or do I be as unpredictable as he's been? But then you're in his world, and that's what he's the master of. So Leeds aren't going away anytime soon, not under him.
Do you know, sorry, just to jump on Bielsa as well, just to tell you how intense he is. Like, I was listening to a podcast earlier on. Calvin Phillips has just done an interview. Obviously, he got his 2 England games. He got his call-up, and he thought he'd done really well. Anyway, when he came back to Thorpe Arch, Bielsa sat him down and showed him tapes of the 2 games and told him where he'd gone wrong. Do you know what I mean? And it's not even for Leeds, it's for England. You know, he's come in and he's gone, and he's gone, sit down there. This is what you've done wrong. You know what I mean? So, he's just attention to detail.
Calvin Phillips looks like a player for me that won't see 35. He just runs himself into the ground. I'd imagine Bielsa is pulling his hair up, but he's a very important player for you. You're missing him.
I think they'll do well to hold on to him beyond this season. I think there'll be a lot of clubs in for him, not only in England. I think abroad as well. I think he's really, really good. Leicester, I'm being told, have 2 fullbacks missing and a centre half, so you could see Leeds playing on the break tomorrow, because Leicester might just have no option. But listen, let's just fucking attack and try to protect ourselves at the back by just being up in Leeds' area as much as we can. But I think it'll be a very, very entertaining game. I'm going to leave Joe to last on this one. P, prediction, please.
Well, now that Leicester are missing players, I'm going to say 4-2 Leeds. This will be a shootout. Definitely.
Nice. Oof. I'm gonna go 2-1 Leeds, and I think they'll come from behind to win it. There you go. That's why Joe's first goal thing interested me. Joe, what have you got?
Yeah. Mine's 2-1 as well, mate. 2-1, yeah. Okay. We're a lot tighter at the back now. I don't know. Yeah, 2-1.
Okay. Last one on this, Kieran B has 2-2 in this one, and I think any score is a fair assessment of things, because it is early in the season. These teams have been good, and then kind of I'm not too sure, and there's loads of energy in there, and players missing and all. I think anything could happen. Anything. Richard Lefebvre says 3-2 to Leeds. Kev O'Sullivan has 3-0 to Leeds. But listen, before we go on to Liverpool, a couple of things. Let's get these out of the way. So we tried something for the Midtjylland game during the week, where basically we came live on YouTube, because you were all moaning at us for not being live on YouTube before games. So we said, for fuck's sake, let's do it. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the responsibility back on you, which is fair, I think. And what we done was, we done a show on Wednesday before the game, about half an hour long. It usually starts when the team news comes out. So this one, we're 5:30 against West Ham, so 4:30. And basically what happens is, you come on the show and you tell us what you think of the lineup, and you tell us your prediction, and you tell us whatever you want. You can sing us a song, we don't care. What happens is, we have a Flicksport app, Flicksport chat app. Go in there, enter via group, type in Trippers Chats, you get in there, loads of Liverpool fans in there. And basically what we're going to do is, we're going to release a link at 4 o'clock tomorrow, that you can access via tablet, phone, laptop, and get on and talk. It's Keith doing it tomorrow, so get on with Keith for half an hour. You can just drop on for a couple of minutes, have a chat about the game, the predictions, what you think it may go, who's in, who's not, all that stuff, whatever you want to talk about. And that's it. That's all you have to do. Get in there. The link will be exclusive to that group, and you can come on and have a chat with us on YouTube. After the game at 7:30, we're going to do the exact same thing again as a match reaction, but it's your turn to come in and give us your reaction. We're opening this up as much as we possibly can, and all you have to do is download that app, get in there, and it's going to be released in there, and you can see everything. There will be 2 separate links, one at 4 o'clock, one at 7 o'clock. One link won't work for both, so it's all explained in there if you log in, okay? That's that. On Sunday, we'll have the Fatback 4. Of course, we look off. You could be talking about anything, you know what I mean, when it was 4 get together. But that's what's going to happen. And you may have seen on Twitter today that Grizz Khan is starting his own show. He's had enough. He turned around and he went, listen, Gav, I've had enough of this shit. I want my own show. I want me on the front cover. I want something to do with my name on the front cover. And I want mad money for it. And we said, okay. So, we've paid him a big load of money, an undisclosed fee, as they say in the football world. And this will be hopefully starting next Wednesday or Thursday. The idea behind it is that Grizz is going to host the show. He's going to bring on people that he knows from football, people from YouTube, people from, I don't know, Twitter, I don't know, it could be his mate from around the corner that he got a bleeding cup of sugar off last week. I don't know. But it's his show. It's all on him. If it goes badly wrong, you know who to blame, right? We're just giving him the platform to do it. But listen, in all honesty, it's going to be brilliant. It really is. I haven't been as excited about a show in a long time. And trust me, if Grizz is as good at this as he is at giving context when it's not needed, this show is going to be amazing. All right. So that's a couple of things. Flicksport app, get on there and have your say. You know, have your say. We're bringing you what you want. You wanted pre-game stuff. You wanted immediate match reaction. You're getting them both from here on in. You just keep giving me more work to do. Like, I have nothing else to be fucking doing. Be like, but listen, we're trying our absolute best. And as I said last week, if you're watching this and you subscribed, brilliant. Like, share, all that sort of stuff. If you're watching and you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Because I believe if you subscribe and watch this for a week or two, you'll never let go. You'll stay with us and you'll become part of in that chat, and you get to know people in that, and the Flicksport app, you get to know people, and you'll have a great time doing it, right? So that's everything. That's all that done. I'm glad to get that out of the way. It was a long one tonight because there's a lot of stuff happening. The amount of work we're putting in is just outrageous. It's too much, to be honest with you. I'm going to have a breakdown. I've ordered sedatives on Amazon, so listen, it should be all good come the middle of next week when they arrive, all right? So Liverpool host West Ham at the weekend. The player I described as brutal, as in Mikel Antonio, is not playing, which is happy days because he's actually quite good. But Joe, I'm going to come to you first. West Ham, they get a good result against City last week. It's a brilliant goal from Antonio. Yeah. I thought when City equalised, they go on and win 2 or 3-1, but West Ham are fairly stubborn and they seem to have a little bit more about them this season, you know. Liverpool, of course, I know you tipped them for the title. I still think you're at that stage at the moment. So, what do you think of this one? Before the Liverpool fans dive in and tell you how great we are, what do you see from this 5:30 on a Saturday at Anfield?
Well, I was told earlier on that West Ham haven't won a game without Antonio either, so that's a massive, massive loss for them. Yeah, I think you guys will be able to tell me what's the crack at centre back. Obviously now with Liverpool, Fabinho's out. Who's going to come in at centre back? Is it Neco Williams or
no? It's Reece Williams.
Williams, right?
Well,
okay.
The talk is that Henderson come off at half time the other night because Fabinho got injured and he wanted to hold Henderson for the centre half position at the weekend. Now the rumour team going around has Reece Williams, a young academy graduate, at centre half beside Joe Gomez, who must think, fucking hell, I turn up every week and there's someone different here. That's the talk. We'll get into that in a little minute as well, but that's the talk at the moment that Reece Williams will start.
So I guess if Antonio's there and he, like you say, he's got maybe have more joy against two centre backs that have never played together. But he's a massive loss for them. It'd be interesting to see if Ben Rama plays for West Ham. Massive fan of Ben Rama. Bowen's doing bits, but listen, I can't. Whenever I see Liverpool, apart from when you're playing Leeds United, I can't see past the Liverpool win. Do you know what I mean? And that's not just blowing smoke up your ass. It's like Liverpool are great, aren't they? Let's be honest. You know they are. And I can't see past it again. West Ham are in great form, but the loss of Antonio is massive. And I just think you'll have too much for them on the day. Of course, Liverpool will win comfortably, probably. If I'm being honest.
Okay, it's interesting. P, the centre half situation. You know, Van Dijk successfully had a successful operation yesterday or today. I think it was yesterday, and you know he's out for what I think the season. Personally, Fabinho looks like he's not as bad as he thought it would be. It could be somewhere. He could be back within 3-4 weeks. You know, you have got Matip. I'm not even talking about him. He upsets me too much. And then you have young Reece Williams, who's come on against Ajax for a couple of minutes. He's played 60-odd minutes against Midtjylland the other night and done nothing wrong. But is it a game for is a Premier League? A Premier League game is a different kettle of fish, isn't it?
If Thiago Alcantara is fit,
Yeah.
Reece Williams will start, I believe. And I'll tell you why. West Ham are the most defensive team in the Premier League. They'll set up with, like they did against City, they'll set up with a 5-4-1. With Ogbonna in the middle of their five at the back. They'll set up with Declan Rice, who is effectively a centre half in the middle of the park, with Souček in the middle of the park. So very, very defensively. So what I'm expecting is to see just 10 men behind the ball and Sebastian Haller up front to try to capitalise on what is perceived as aerial weakness and maybe try and get Bowen into the game. But for me, if Thiago Alcantara is past his fit, and I believe that he trained tonight in the 11v11 setup as part of the first team, that kind of changes the dynamic of the game, because he's going in there knowing that teams like West Ham will sit off completely against us, and to try to add a little bit of subtlety, which is what he's been brought into the club to do, to pick the bones out of teams that lay deep. I'm not going to say it doesn't matter who plays centre back, because it always matters who plays centre back for Liverpool. But I don't think we'll see Jordan Henderson at centre half tomorrow. I don't think we'll see Gini Wijnaldum. I think we'll see Gomez and young Williams there. And if Alcantara is fit to play, if he isn't, I can see Henderson going back there. Now, then you're thinking, what happens if we're winning comfortably after 44? You know, at half time, maybe. Because Alcantara is touch and go fitness-wise, he takes him off, and maybe then you see maybe Jordan Henderson going back into centre-half, because I think you have to be cagey with these things, because Haller is a threat. But for me, I think Williams I think he did really, really well. If that was another player, for example, if that was Joe Matip, who had went in the other night and played beside Joe Gomez, you'd be saying, great, Matip's flying, he's fit, he can play. So for me, the Umfla starts.
Okay. I'm a bit torn on this. I've had a big think about it. I was having some, custard creams. This is where it's going to go off on a big tangent now. Brace yourself. But not custard creams. Have you ever tried the raspberry cream version of them?
Yeah, and they're rotten.
Fabulous biscuit. I won't have a word said against them, right?
Don't like it.
But I was sitting there earlier. My 8-month-old child was sitting in his high chair. He was horsing fucking grapes and all sorts into him, right? And I was sitting down with a cup of tea with me raspberry creams. I was having a big think about this. And I get what you're coming from. If Thiago's fit, that young lad plays. I kind of want to go with that, because I want to see three in midfield. I want to see three in midfield, Pete. I'm not liking this 4-2-3-1. And you know what? It might suit us best against the West Ham side if they go that deep and that defensive. That it may do. You may need another man in there. It's just killing us in midfield for me, Pete, because I think that 4-2-3-1 is there because the lack of midfielders we have, and he's trying to still rotate in a small circle of players. So if you play two, it's easier to rotate, isn't it, than playing three and then trying to get another three in, right? The young lad done nothing wrong. He done nothing wrong, but for me, West Ham will just look to target him all fucking day long. And I don't. If he's beside Virgil van Dijk, I'd say, you know what, do it. Joe Gomez doesn't need that headache at the moment. He doesn't need that.
I just worry about Haller though in the air. I worry that's the one thing.
I get that. But listen, if Haller's up front on his own and Virgil van Dijk is there against Reece Williams, or with Reece Williams, and Reece Williams having a bit of a tough time, he'd be just saying, you just jump at him, don't worry about where it goes, I'll look after it. Joe Gomez isn't at that stage. Joe Gomez is trying to piece his own season together here. He's trying to stamp a bit of authority on his season, and he doesn't need to be minding an 18-year-old. No, I'm not saying the fella come out and disgrace himself, but I just have I thought he'd go with something like Henderson or Wijnaldum in there. But then again,
well, yeah, if it's not him, it'll probably be Henderson.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm coming around to the idea. I really am. And I'd love nothing more for them to come on and they pound balls at Halla and he gets up and beats him all day in the air. And, you know, it'd be brilliant if there was a crowd there because, you know, he wins one header against Halla and the place would go fucking mental. And then Halla wouldn't want to know then and we'd be happy days, wouldn't we? Dan J says there, not enough midfield options to drop someone back. You see, that's where I'm coming from as well. Wanting to play the three because I would have thought, if he's going to put Williams in there, I'd have liked him to see Wijnaldum, Henderson, THIAGO tomorrow. But I think he goes Henderson, THIAGO, and I think he still leaves the four up front. But we'll have to wait and see. Of course, listen.
I just think again, if he does that, it just plays into West Ham's hands because there's a lot of for me, as the energy Jota has is great, but it's a bit of a crowded house in the final third, and it just does. We're not getting between people. They're just going to sit. That's a back five that they play. They're going to sit. And they're going to rely on getting the ball to Haller and maybe young Bowen feeding off him for me. And that plays into that. That plays right into that. If it's all about THIAGO being fit, a player like THIAGO changes the dynamic. Because we're going to see most of the ball tomorrow. And we need that little bit of subtlety. So we need to see us spending 75% of the game picking holes in them. And I think
but what I'd love to see is that even if you set up with THIAGO and Wijnaldum ahead of a Henderson, you know, when we don't have it, and then when we do have it, you say to THIAGO, you go deepest, and Henderson and for me, Wijnaldum will push on, and they'll hunt when we lose it, you know, the kind of way. Just the two in midfield just makes me nervous that, West Ham might be defensive, but they'll still get room in midfield to get the ball around us and maybe get Bowen away and stuff like that.
Rice can play, and Souček is a tough character, so I expect us to match Souček and Rice with Wijnaldum and Henderson. That's why I'm not for Henderson playing centre half. We need to match the energy West Ham will have in that midfield. They're just very defensive.
Has Henderson ever played centre half, guys?
In a World Club Cup game, and to be honest with you, it wasn't pretty. His idea of coming out for offside was a little. No, he's not a centre back. You know, it's just that he's competitive and he talks very well. I didn't like it, to be honest with you. He doesn't. Playing a high line is a challenge for a centre back, but for a non-centre back, it's a bloody nightmare. You know, he was stepping in late, and we were caught a couple of times. You know.
Jonathan Tracy asks, Gav, "What you sound like a worried man? Why?" It's not that I'm worried. It's just.
What do we do?
I don't know. Maybe I'm just slow to come around to this 4-2-3-1 thing. I think it's been. I've said I think it's been done for a multiple of reasons. I think it is because of the rotation and how many you need to rotate in a two rather than a three is a big thing. I think it's trying to help Firmino by having another body up there so he can bounce off and maybe find a bit of form. But having said that, if they go out with a 4-2-3-1 and it's THIAGO, Henderson, and you have got, you know, Jota, Mane, Salah, Firmino, and they're all interchanging, I think, along with the fullbacks, there's plenty there, you know, to do the job. But I think Henderson and THIAGO will have a massive role tomorrow, just not only pushing the side forward, but also just keeping an eye at the lad behind them and saying, don't worry, I'm in front of you. Have you know, nearly talking them through it. So, but we'll have to wait and see. Listen, we have to get out of here. We're messing now, an hour and 18 minutes, mostly talking about raspberry creams or whatever it was I was eating.
Boys, you need to go get Ben White in January, man. Go get Ben White from Brighton in January.
Do you know what?
Man.
It's interesting you say that.
Why couldn't you do that? Why couldn't you do that deal?
Brighton
Too expensive, man. Brighton said they didn't want to sell to someone who would be their rivals. We're going for Champions League. They're getting relegated, so I don't know what they're talking about. You know what I mean?
But it's an interesting one when you look at Ben White, who goes off the Leeds in the Championship and he's outstanding, and then you look at this lad that he's not in Liverpool's academy for nothing. He's not around the first team for nothing. You know, same with Curtis Jones, the same with Trent going back a couple of years ago. You know, there's players that have come through, and you know, you're always a bit worried when they're that young, but maybe he just needs to go out and say, yeah, I'm good. Watch, I'll show you. We'll have to wait and see.
You're old enough, you're good enough, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Right, predictions. Joe, I'll let you go first.
3-0.
3-0, Liverpool. Okay.
Yeah.
P?
Yeah, I'm going to back Joe up here. I'm going to go 3-0 Liverpool. Yeah, no ifs, ands, buts or maybes. 2-0 first half, and then we keep a tidy second and score the second, the third in the second half. 3-0 Liverpool.
Okay, I'm going to go 3-1 Liverpool. I always do this. I don't know why 3-1's in my brain. I'm like
Salah
who just keeps doing 2 all every week. Right, before we go, lads, quickly, 3 players that you feel will score over the weekend. Joe, I'll let you go first.
Bamford, Son, and Salah.
Okay. P, who are you having?
I'm going to go Mane, I'm going to go Kane, and I'm going to go Ings.
Okay, I'm going to go Bruno Fernandes. Penalty against Arsenal. Absolutely nailed. I'm going to go Son off Spurs, and I'm going to go with the last one. I'm not picking a Liverpool player. Only jinx it. I'm going to go with Dominic Calvert-Lewin away in Newcastle. So that's it. Mane, Sterling and Kane has Dan J. Matt Sweeney has Mane, Salah and Trent. Let me see. There's loads coming there. Mane, Sterling and Kane. Mane 3 times says Macca. He's flying. Arjit says Kane, Son and Jota. Jota's flying as well. Kev O'Sullivan has Ings, Rashford and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. There's loads of them coming in there. It's been another excellent show, I have to say. The guests, as always, are top notch. I'm just here waffling about biscuits, and I listen. I keep getting away with it. So what do you want me to do?
Exactly.
I keep getting away with it, so what do you want me to do? You can see there on the screen 10,000 subs are our next target. Can we do it? I hope we can. We're on we just passed 6,000 the other day. So if you're watching, please subscribe. If you know anyone that likes football, Liverpool or whatever, just tell them to subscribe. They might like it. I think they will, especially if they're a Liverpool fan. But we're not going to do 7, 8, 9,000. We're going for the big one. We're going for 10,000. Grizz says he wants the plaque. Apparently you get a plaque off YouTube when you get to 10,000. Grizz wants the plaque. He's laid claim to
I didn't get no plaque.
Did you not?
We ain't got no plaque.
Well, I don't know what's going on. Oh, you see, you're not in the Euro anymore. That's what the problem is. You left Europe. You don't get plaques. Steve and Max having a go at me. He says, stick to betting on the golf. I don't bet. I don't do a lot of betting. But no, look, we're going for 10,000 subs. If you can get us there, absolutely. Listen, we're not asking to do it over the week. If you could do it over the weekend, it'd be amazing. But if you can spread the word, that's all we're asking for. Of course, every show is free. It always will be. And if you can just spread the word and see how many subs we can get to, it would be absolutely amazing. Joe, it's been an absolute pleasure. We have loads of fans in this chat. Believe me, loads of. I think they're half of them are turned to Leeds fans now at this stage. They consider you great value, very honest, funny, and all that sort of stuff. So we'll do our best to get Joe on again next week. If he just lowers his fee, we can guarantee it, but we'll have to wait and see. Joe, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Nah, thanks, lads. Honestly, it's class coming on. I enjoy it, man. It's always great insight as well, hearing you guys speak, man. I learn stuff while I'm sat here, man. It's class.
About biscuits.
About biscuits.
Pete, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm sure between now and this time next week, we'll be talking to you on a show of some sort.
Happy days, boys. Happy days. See you soon.
Good stuff. That has been the Friday Forecast. Don't forget the Flicksport app. Go in there. Trippers Chats is the name of the group. Go in, get your links for them 2 shows tomorrow, because it's your chance to come on and tell us what you think of the game before and after. That's it. Over now.